Good morning. Before I say anything else this morning, I want to stay for just a moment in what we've already experienced together. There's a tenderness in this room. Can you feel it? I'm not sure when it happened. Maybe it arrived in the music, or maybe it was in the silence. Or maybe it found you as we listened to the story about that small angel trembling, holding that little box that he feared wasn't enough. I don't know what stirred in you as those words were spoken, but I know what moved in me. And it left me wondering how many of us know that feeling. Not that we think that what we offer is bad exactly, but that it might be too small to matter. Most of us at some point have quietly wondered whether what we bring to this world is enough, whether our kindness is noticeable enough, whether our presence makes any difference at all. But if we are very honest, most of us can also remember a moment when someone showed up in our life, maybe in a way that seemed very ordinary at the time, but which changed everything. When I thought of that idea and I tried to find a moment where that happened to me, I remembered one day in particular. I was still a student at Barnhart, the school right outside this sanctuary, which incidentally is still the only New Thought school for children anywhere, as far as anyone knows that I've asked. And when this happened, I must have been 8 or 9 years old. And by this point in my life, I had come to feel very seen in all the worst ways. I was too loud, too weird, too different, a great number of other twos. I can remember wishing that I'd either become what everyone else would like, so I wouldn't feel so alone, or I'd gain the ability to blend in with the scenery and stop drawing so much attention so that I wouldn't feel like so much of a target. And there was one afternoon that has played itself over and over in the decades since. So outside the fellowship hall, right where that corner where you turn the corner from the fireside room to go in the fellowship hall doors, there used to be a payphone sitting there. For you young people, anybody don't know? Okay, that was a big rectangular beast, okay, of a phone, and it had a coin slot. We had coins plentifully, and we would put 10 cents or so in there so that we could call someone whose number you had to memorize by heart. And I know that sounds impossible these days, right? But it was true. So just below that payphone out there was a bench, kind of like the ones that sit in the corridor there. And I don't remember why, but I was waiting there after school for some reason, and I saw another little girl from my class. Her name was Amy Dunn. And Amy, if you are seeing this, you really, really mattered to me that day. You gave me hope when I thought that no other kids cared. Amy was one of the popular kids. She was kind of quiet, and she was really pretty, and I remember she was very, very intelligent. She always knew the answers, and I'd never really talked to her. Not really. Really, I didn't talk to anyone much, unless it was to unwittingly put my foot in my mouth. And that day, Amy sat down on the bench with me, and that really caught me off guard. I didn't know what to do with it. And we talked, which was very foreign to me in that moment. And I can't remember any of the details about what she said, but I remember how I felt afterward. I know that she said things which told me that she'd paid attention to what I'd been doing and to who I was beneath all of the hurt and the low self-esteem. Things that were kind and made me feel special. I know that she asked questions with real curiosity about how I felt and about what my thoughts were. And I know that when I answered in ways that diminished me, she told me what she saw in me. And what she saw was good. For the first time, I felt seen in a positive way by another kid. A thing that I'd begun to believe was impossible. And something in me relaxed. Somehow I left that moment believing even just a tiny bit that I could be liked. That maybe I could have a friend. And because I believed, I was open when a friend came to be. Never underestimate the light you may be for someone, even when you're simply being yourself. Even when you think that all that you're doing is being kind. Who was that for you? That moment that someone showed up, leaned in, and changed your life. Maybe they spoke a word just when you needed it. Maybe they stayed when others left. Maybe they saw something in you that you had forgotten or had never believed about yourself in the first place. And in that moment, something shifted. Who was that? You could breathe again. You felt hope again. Strength returned. Most of us can name at least one person who became a kind of guiding star in the dark for us, even for just a moment. So who was that person in your life? Connect with that for a moment. Can you remember? What we don't always realize is that we all have, whether we know it or not, been that star for someone else. Not because we were trying to be remarkable or to get anyone's approval, but because love moved through us and it met a moment. Miracles rarely announce themselves while they're happening. I personally know of very few which have made the news or gone viral on social media. Most often I think that miracles arrive disguised as ordinary moments. They look like a message sent at just the right time. A hand resting on a shoulder that just kind of felt like it needed it. In someone remembering your name or some detail about your life when you thought you were invisible. A person who pauses whatever they're doing long enough to truly listen. These are not small things. They are truly how the world is healed. The story of the littlest angel touches me deeply for this very reason. He trembled because he believed his gift was too ordinary, too insignificant. Perhaps he believed that what he offered was so incredibly silly that it would be seen as thoughtlessness, as insulting. A beautiful butterfly wing, a perfectly blue bird's egg, 2 small stones, a worn collar from a beloved dog. He thought he had misunderstood holiness. He thought surely God would want something greater. And yet of all the gifts, it was his that became the shining star of Bethlehem. What if the light that the world is waiting for is hidden inside of what you've been calling ordinary? Over these past weeks together, we've been discovering something really beautiful. We have remembered that we are already held in a great web of life. That every present strengthens it, that every moment lays down a filament. But today I want to gently remove something that sometimes sneaks in when we begin to see this. The quiet question we ask ourselves when the idea of being someone who answers the call moves into purpose. Am I doing this right? Am I being spiritual enough? Am I weaving well enough? So hear this clearly. You are not asked to be extraordinary to change the world. Love has never required perfection to transform a life. It only asks for willingness, because love travels. And maybe it's imperceptible, but still it reaches everyone. The story of Jesus at the wedding feast reminds us of this. The miracle was not simply that the water became wine. The miracle was that ordinary people who didn't have any idea who he was yet, they were willing to participate. No one argued, no one formed a committee, no one said, let's analyze this verse and find out if science will back it up and what our odds are. They simply filled the jars. And in doing this, the story of Jesus began to spread. And more people were willing to participate, and they still are, thousands of years later. Just water and willingness. It began a miracle which still echoes throughout the entire world, which still invites miracles into the ordinary. Transformation begins with simple availability. And Ernest Holmes tells us that spiritual conviction must become spiritual experience, that no one can live our life for us. Please don't misunderstand what he's saying here. The recognition that we are each the liver of our own life, it is not a burden. It is the universe trusting you with your own radiance. Perhaps trusting you more than you trust yourself yet. Your life touches far more life than you will ever realize, which means that you are never merely passing through this world. You are participating in its becoming, even when you think you're alone. Even when, like me, you regularly spend time alone on purpose, just to not do anything at all. We touch everyone. We invite participation even as we demonstrate it in small ways. Wednesday evening, I found out that our new little church cat, the one I told you about last week, Thomas, he went missing. And because I had a few minutes in between the meditation live stream and the Wednesday night service, I kicked off my shoes, as normal, and I went out into the garden there to call to him, and he didn't answer. And I came back in here, and I just kind of let him know that he hadn't come. And first one person said, I'll come help. And then another, and another. And before long, almost everyone who had come for the service, they came out to come help search. No one organized it. No one assigned it. Love simply moved and we followed. Phone flashlights just weaving through the gardens and the parking lots, and voices calling into the dark. People who had come for a service choosing instead to become one. Somewhere in that simple act, walking together, refusing to give up, we were becoming light for one another. No one asked if it mattered. Love had already decided whether we found Thomas or not. That is how the web strengthens, not through grand sweeping gestures, but through millions of quiet, beautiful ones like that. Attention is one of the purest forms of love. Hear that. Before this week is over, before this day is over, in fact, if you stay present and you pay attention, life will place someone in your path who needs the light that you carry. You will have a choice to move past that moment or to lean into it. Don't miss it. Because you are far more influential than your doubts would ever dare to admit. It is true that you may never know how many lives your presence is quietly shaping, but this web that we've been exploring, this interconnected, invisible net of love surrounding us and all that is, knows. And that willingness to participate, followed by action, sends love through every strand of that web. Every person living in it. Every single one, every lonely heart, every person who struggles, every person afraid. It reaches them. And so each time that love moves through you, the world becomes more whole. So perhaps the invitation today is not to try to perform miracles, but simply to stay awake enough to not miss the moments when love is asking to move through you. Some moments will look big, and you may feel unprepared. Step in anyway. Some moments they're going to look impossibly small, and you may feel like they hardly matter. Step in anyway. Small acts offered with great love are how the world is rewoven into harmony, into acceptance, into invitation, into celebration. The world is changed far more often by quiet connections than by loud heroes. So go into this week awake. Move a little more slowly. Notice a little more everything. Trust those quiet nudges you get. Expect nothing, yet be ready for everything. Because the smallest moment may be waiting for you to turn it into light. Stay awake this week. Because love is looking for places to land. And whenever love moves through you, the world becomes more whole. You are not spectators in this miracle of life. My friends, you are the miracle. You're already shining. This world is brighter because you are. Thank you.